First, we are going to start with adding decimals. When we add decimals, we have to line up the decimal point in each place value. Once we've done that, then we can add like we would normally add. Here's how you would set up that problem. If you notice, I've lined up the decimal points in each place value, and I've also added in some of those imaginary zeros. Once I've done that, then I can add my number. Next, we have subtracting decimals. We set these problems up the exact same way as adding decimals. I've lined up my decimal points, added in my imaginary zeros, and then I would subtract like I would normally subtract. Next, we have multiplying decimals. When we start a problem, we ignore the decimal points at first and we pretend like we have whole numbers. So I'm going to pretend like I'm solving 24 times 613. This is how you would line those numbers up, making sure the longer number is on the top. Then I would go through the multiplication process and multiply these two numbers like I would if I had 613 times 24. Once I solve and do the multiplication, I get 14712 as my answer. Now I go back and I look at my problem. I have three numbers that come after the decimal point in my problem, so I need three numbers after the decimal point in my answer, which means my decimal point has to go between the 4 and the 7. The last operation we have is dividing decimals. If you notice in this problem, the divisor, or 2.5, has a decimal point in it. We cannot divide with the decimal number on the outside of the division bar. So before we start dividing, we have to move that decimal over one time to create the whole number 25. Since I moved that decimal point one time, I have to move the decimal point in the other number one time, which gives me 67.5. Once I've moved my decimal points, I like to rewrite my problem. So my new problem becomes 67.5 divided by 25.